I was walking home from work one evening. Just another Tuesday, nothing special. The sky was that deep purple color it gets right after the sun sets. I was scrolling through my phone, half paying attention, when I saw something on the sidewalk. It was a wallet. A nice one, too real leather, worn just enough to look comfortable. I picked it up. It felt heavy, full. My first instinct was to open it, find an ID, and call the owner. That's what a good person does, right? I opened the flap. Inside, I saw a driver's license. The guy's name was David. He had a friendly, slightly goofy smile in his photo. I also saw a stack of cash. A thick stack. My eyes went wide. I quickly counted it. $1,000, exactly. My heart started pounding. $1,000, that could solve so many problems for me right now. My car needed new tires, my rent was due, and I'd been eating instant noodles for a week straight. It felt like a sign. But no, I told myself. It's not yours. The right thing to do is return it. I looked at the ID again. David's address was on the other side of town, a good 40-minute drive from where I was. I was tired. It had been a long day. I thought, I'll call him tomorrow. It's late. He's probably already canceled his cards anyway. So, I put the wallet in my jacket pocket, went home, and told myself I'd deal with it in the morning. A little voice in my head whispered that I should at least try to call. Or maybe drop it at the nearest police station, but I was exhausted. Tomorrow, I promised myself. I'll be a good person tomorrow. The next morning, my alarm went off and the first thing I thought of was the wallet. I reached for my jacket, pulled it out, and opened it again. That stack of cash was still there, staring at me. The temptation was so much stronger in the morning light. $1,000 could be a fresh start. I could pay off that nagging credit card bill, buy some real groceries, maybe even get that new pair of sneakers I'd been wanting. Who is David anyway? He probably has plenty of money if he's carrying this much cash. Maybe he wouldn't even miss it. This internal debate raged on. One part of me, the part that wanted to be a good person, kept showing me David's smiling face from his ID. The other part, the desperate part, was already spending the money in my head. I thought about my options. I could just take the cash and drop the wallet in a mailbox. The post office would send it back to him. He'd get his ID and cards back, and I'd get the cash. It seemed like a win-win, kind of. But it felt wrong. It was stealing. I spent the whole morning procrastinating. I made coffee. I checked my emails. I cleaned my apartment. All while the wallet sat on my kitchen table like a time bomb. Every time I looked at it, I felt a knot in my stomach. I told myself again, okay, after I finish this one last thing, I'll drive over to his house. But one thing turned into another, and soon it was lunchtime. The delay wasn't making the decision easier, it was making the temptation stronger. The longer the money was in my possession, the more it started to feel like it could be mine. The guilt was there, but so was the desire. I finally decided I couldn't just keep the money. The guilt was eating me alive. My plan was to drive to his address after work and return it in person. I'd explain I found it late last night and just got the chance to bring it over. He'd be grateful, I'd feel good about myself, and this whole ordeal would be over. That was the plan. So, I put the wallet back in my jacket, ready to go, and headed out the door for another day at the office. At work, I couldn't focus. All I could think about was the wallet in my car. What would I say to David? "Hi, I found your wallet. Sorry it took me a day to get it back to you." It sounded weak. It sounded suspicious. Maybe he'd think I took something. But I hadn't. Every single dollar was still there. I replayed the conversation in my head a dozen times. By the time 5 o'clock rolled around, I was a nervous wreck. I practically ran to my car, eager to just get this over with. I drove across town, following the GPS to David's address. It was a nice neighborhood, with well-kept lawns and big, beautiful houses. This confirmed my earlier thought. He probably wasn't hurting for money. A little part of me felt a pang of resentment. Here I was struggling, and this guy could afford to lose $1,000 without a second thought. But I pushed the feeling down. I was here to do the right thing, and that was that. I pulled up to his house, took a deep breath, and walked to the front door. I rang the doorbell. A moment later, David opened the door. He looked older than his picture, and his friendly smile was gone. He looked stressed, angry even. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice sharp. Hi," I stammered, holding out the wallet. "You're David, right? I think this is yours. I found it on the sidewalk last night." He snatched the wallet from my hand and quickly opened it. He thumbed through the contents, his eyes scanning everything. I expected a look of relief, maybe a thank you. Instead, his face darkened. He looked up at me, and his eyes were full of suspicion. "Last night," he said, his voice cold as ice. "Where did you find this?" I explained where I found it, how I was tired and planned to return it today. But the more I talked, the more I felt like I was digging myself into a hole. My perfectly reasonable explanation now sounded like a flimsy excuse. "Funny," David said, cutting me off. "I reported this wallet stolen yesterday evening, along with the $1,000 of emergency cash that was inside. I told the police a thief must have picked my pocket. And now, a day later, you show up with it." He looked me up and down, and I could feel his judgment. He saw my old car parked at the curb, my worn-out shoes. He saw someone who looked like they needed money. My stomach dropped. No, you don't understand," I pleaded. "I was going to return it. I got delayed. I never intended to keep it." I sounded desperate, and I knew it. In his eyes, I wasn't a good Samaritan. I was a thief who got scared and changed their mind. He didn't believe a word I was saying. The truth was, my good intentions had been there, but they were buried under a pile of procrastination and temptation. He just shook his head slowly. "You should have returned it immediately. Or called. Or taken it to the police. Waiting a day looks bad. It looks really bad." He didn't say thank you. He didn't smile. He just closed the door in my face, leaving me standing there on his porch, feeling about 2 inches tall. I walked back to my car, the weight of his accusation crushing me. I had the wallet, I had the money, and I had the intention to return it. But I waited. And in that delay, my good deed soured into a suspected crime. I learned a hard lesson that day. A good intention is meaningless without immediate action. Procrastination doesn't just delay a task, it can change the entire story. It can turn a hero into a villain, a good deed into a suspicious act. Don't just think about doing the right thing. Do it right away. Because sometimes, later becomes too late. What do you think? Was I in the wrong for waiting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're all trying to navigate our own moral compass, and these stories are here to help us find our way. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more real stories with real lessons, make sure to follow and subscribe.